Hey y'all, it's Rick here with Uncommon Communion. And yes, I did not record on Tuesday. I don't know if I'm going to be able to record every day in this really busy time that I am ending. We'll see though. We'll see. I do like to write more than record, and I do have some of my writing to share with you about where I was on this evening, which, as I record, is Tuesday. Now, let's begin as we always begin. And again, I'm grateful that you are with me here. And let us say together and affirm this truth that we are always and everywhere in the holy presence of the more and each other. So I want to first start with where I was this evening and share some of my writing with you. You'll remember that I am committing to writing 15 minutes a day on something during the day that caught my attention that I am giving praise and thanks and gratitude for. And this evening, early this evening, actually, really late Tuesday afternoon, I had the opportunity to welcome an author. So let me read that to you, and then we're going to talk about Psalm 118, but not Psalm 119. So let me first share with you in praise of a visiting author. Tonight, I heard an author speak. He didn't read from any of the novels he's written. Rather, he told some of his own life stories and reflected on how these have influenced his writing. The author, one whom I've read a bit, was T.J. Klune. The lone novel I read and listened to was The House by the Cerulean Sea. This found family tale in the light fantasy genre is clever, funny, uplifting, and queer. At the heart of this tale is a blossoming love between two middle aged men who've both been wounded by life. Clune, also queer and a middle aged man, specializes in stories where queer characters find mature romantic love. His talk occurred at the winery where I've worked for more than 13 years now. It was before a large auditorium sized talk he'd have later in the evening. My role was more than a listener to his talk. Rather, I was the de facto host of the reception as the owner of the winery was not there. The formal organizers were the staff at our outstanding local library. I was the one, though, who welcomed the organizers, Clune, and the 40 or so people who paid $100 a ticket for the reception. Judging by the attendees' rapt attention as Clune spoke, as well as the thoughtful questions they asked him, these were far more serious fans than I am. Also, it seemed that many at the reception were queer themselves. Much of his talk centered on the homophobia and bigotry he's faced. Clearly, this resonated with many of the guests as heads nodded in agreement. I am grateful that I could be hospitable to this group and author. Plus, I got my copy of his recent sequel to House by the Cerulean Sea, signed by him. I dig books signed by an author, and I will proudly add this to my bookshelf. Oh, may it be so. And you'll see what I just read and the photo of him at this event, as well as a Wikipedia link or a link to his website so you can see a little bit about him. And highly recommend Cerulean Sea. It's a great story, one that I really enjoyed, and I'm reading it again because I enjoyed it so much. So I want to talk about 118 tonight, which was yesterday's psalm. And we're going to hold off on 119. And here's what we're going to do. We're actually going to hold off on it until after Psalm 150. So we're going to stay in the days. 119 would be today. 120 is Thursday. And we'll stick to that. Because 119 is totally different than any of the other Psalms. And I want to spend some real time kind of looking at it and reflecting on it. So we're going to come back to that at the end. What I want to do tonight about 118 was when I read it in the indigenous translation, it really struck me as being pretty just kind of wild in some of the images that they're using. And to make a comparison at how different the indigenous translation is, I want to read the verses first in a typical translation, which is this Psalms that I've read previously. And after that, I'm going to read it from the indigenous translation. And you'll get to hear how this is really quite different. So this is Psalm 118. I'm going to start, I'm only going to read 4 or 5 verses. And I'm going to read this part. All the nations surrounded me. In the name of the Lord, I cut them off. They surrounded me on every side. In the name of the Lord, I cut them off. They surrounded me like bees. They blazed like a fire of thorns. In the name of the Lord, I cut them off. I was pushed hard so that I was falling, but the Lord helped me. The Lord is my strength and my song. He has become my salvation. Hark, glad songs of victory in the tents of the righteous. The right hand of the Lord does valiantly. The right hand of the Lord is exalted. I shall not die, but I shall live and recount the deeds of the Lord. All right, so that is a typical translation, and you're going to hear some similarities, but also in the indigenous one, really kind of taking it in some pretty cool translational directions. So here are the same verses. Many enemies surrounded me, but by grandfather's name I cut them off and drove them away. They circled me again and again, but by grandfather's name I cut them off and drove away. They swarmed around me like angry bees, but their fury quickly died out like a burning tumbleweed. Yes, by grandfather's name, I cut them off and drove them away. I was pushed back hard and nearly fell, but grandfather helped me. Grandfather is my strength and my song. He has become the one who sets me free. The beat of the drum and the shouts of the victory dancers can be heard in the camp of those whose hearts beat true. Grandfather has won the victory with his strong right hand. Yes, grandfather's strong right hand is lifted high, and he has won the victory for us. I will not die. Instead, I will live to tell of the good things grandfather has done. And again, I like the urgency of that psalm, the rat-a-tat kind of sounds of the words. And again, the indigenous translation um, captures the bees and it talks about the burning tumbleweed. And then I love that the beat of the drum and the shouts of the victory dancers can be heard. Again, so visceral, so sensuous, just so, I think, engaging, enticing, and uplifting in its enthusiasm for grandfather. So again, y'all, I appreciate your being here and sharing this time with me. I hope to be back with you tomorrow, and I just hope you're doing well during this time. It is a crazy time, as you know. We're focused on what really matters now, especially since Saturday, when now what matters more than anything else is the ballroom, and our taxpayer money looks like Congress wants us to pay for it. So crazier and crazier and crazier it gets. All right, y'all. Let's say the serenity prayer, recognizing what we can change and what we can't change, and leaning into what we can. God grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Thy will, not ours, be done. Amen. All right, y'all. Hold fast, be well, be bold. Prayers and blessings. Hold fast, y'all.